Welcome to the Verdin Verdict Sports Show. I'm your host, Jacob Verdin. Hope everybody's having a good weekend. Got a pop-up stream for you today. It's Saturday. I normally don't go live on the weekend for you, but had practice get postponed yesterday. Moved to today. Got all kind of information for you. We're out there. We're going to answer all your questions. We're going to try to alleviate all of your concerns. I know there's one big one floating around on the health of your quarterback one, Garrett Nussmeier, number 13. How's he feeling? How's he looking? How's he moving? I'll say one thing. He looks good. It could be a lot worse. So thank your lucky stars. Praise the Lord. Do whatever you got to do. But I think 13 is going to be okay. Now, is it the best case scenario? No. Tendonitis is never something that you're going to be happy about at this point in the season because it could flare up. It could come back. It can prohibit you throughout the season. We'll get to that. I feel like Nuss looked full speed at times. So that's the positive. A few days after the rumored season ender, it looks to be something that it was overblown, obviously, for one, and something that I think they could potentially build off of, right? I mean, he's wearing the knee sleeve. He's trying to stay out there, trying to keep practicing, trying to keep adding days. The main focus is, though, keep him healthy. If he needs to sit out, let him sit out. There's a few players overall that I got question marks on in terms of health, but, hey, it happens at this point of fall camp. We got a good look at everybody on the team, from quarterback depth to what they're going to do offensively to Juwan Johnson, the question marks around him and the potential redshirt that he could be putting on here. Right? Just drop any questions you got below as we get through our practice notes. We'll be back out there next week on the field. No footage today. Cameras were picked up today. Weren't allowed to film. Weren't allowed to get any of the periods on camera. We were supposed to get the first three. Last minute audible is what it is. So now let's start off with the Garrett Nussmeier show, because everybody wants to know. That's the main question that I've been getting. How's Garrett Nussmeier? Now, he's not 100%. I'd say he'd be around 75 to 80%. He doesn't look horrible. There's times where he's rubbing the knee. There's times where he's looking off. There's times where he's playing with the sleeve. But that happens. We've seen guys like Whit Weeks do that on the sideline. That's a part of the recovery process when you're coming back from an injury, right? And at least it's not a knee brace. Now, a knee sleeve, still worrisome, still something that you're not used to seeing 13 wear, but it's just there for compression, blood flow, trying to help them stay loose, if you will, keep that knee warm, keep it active. Now, there's this, right? There's the questions and the doubts from a lot of people about his mobility. They're concerned on Garrett Nussmeier running out of the pocket, or Garrett Nussmeier trying to, actually just put the wheels on display. Right now, those doubters, I feel like, are going to, if you question the mobility now, you're definitely going to, after this point. I feel like there was one point in the handoff period where it kind of looked like he was playing his foot a little funny, kind of looked like he was trying to work through some things. But like I said, it's fairly new. You're 48 hours removed from when this injury supposedly happened. You just got to keep them safe footwork, keep it slow. If you got to, like I say, move gingerly. If you got to try to, take care of yourself, do what you got to do. Because you got about, at this point, 20 days? It's less than 3 weeks, 3 Saturdays away from the Clemson game. And there's a point potentially along fall camp where you might have to decide to sit Garrett Nussmeier. You might have to weigh your options on if putting your starting quarterback out there is worth the risk that it carries. And I mean, we've seen what could potentially happen, and we've seen through a couple of other players as well, as we'll get to throughout the stream. But when is it too much? When is 13's reps too much out there? Like, how often do you need him to be under center? He looks like he's moving the ball well. He looks like he's moving well. But like I said, there's just sometimes where you question it. It's just like, dude, does he need to be out there as much as he is? And I think maybe as they get closer to the game, they could potentially taper it back. But at the same point, it's going to be based on how he's feeling. We're going to know a lot more as time goes by, because Brian Kelly's saying it's a chronic situation. It's tendonitis. It's this, it's that. It's flaring up. Now that worries me, though, because if it's a chronic situation that is based off of something that happened in the past, now you got to worry about week 5, week 6, week 10, week 11. It potentially, knocking back on the door and affecting the way that Garrett Nussmeier performs, affecting the way that he moves around the pocket, affecting the way that he throws the football and directs the offense for LSU. Now, Somebody was even talking to me at practice about this possibility, and I never really thought about it, but like a LA Tech, a Southeastern, do you sit him for games like that? Do you potentially take him out? And like, right, it ain't worth it right now. I don't know. I feel like it's just going to depend on how he looks, how he feels. I feel like you got to question the chemistry at that instance, right? You got to question if the guys out there are worried if 13 is going to be able to answer the bell. You got a direct effect across the entire team. And then not to mention if you're plugging and moving guys around like a Michael Van Buren or Juwan Johnson, there's the redshirt question, like I keep saying, because Juwan Johnson's role has grown tremendously now. And now you have to question if he's even going to get redshirted, because before he was in more of a gadgety role. He was in more of a, you're going to line him out the back, probably see him do some trick run plays. Today, we saw him in every single variety, from running back to lining up under center, even moving out in motion and going out like a wide receiver in a red zone format. We saw everything from 8, and I think you'll continue to see everything from 8, and he might not be able to wear that red shirt, which, could be good, could be bad, but you're going to need that versatility now. You're going to need him because there's a bunch of reasons that I could say this. One, it helps you in a pass schematic way because now you got more options out there to be able to potentially throw them off on that side. You could potentially throw him into a run package and help diversify that run scheme. Everybody's saying you're calling the same play, you're doing inside zone, you're doing all this on repeat. This is a way to be able to kind of mix the bag a little bit with a guy like Juwan Johnson. Now, we were talking with Are You Serious Sports, our guy Blake Ruffino, on the way out of practice, and he brought it up initially saying that you can't have Juwan Johnson out there and everyone immediately know what he's doing. And I kind of alluded to the Taysom Hill aspect of the New Orleans Saints. When 7 ran out there, a lot of people, fans, defenders, people in the stands, everybody kind of knows the writing on the wall. Everybody kind of sees what's about to happen here. Everybody knows Taysom Hill's getting it. Watch out, look 7's way. You don't want that for Juwan Johnson in his role. You don't want people to automatically sniff out what he's doing, what he's bringing to the table. And I think the fact that you can put him in all of those roles, the running back, the throwing out wide, he could even drop back and throw one. Like, that's going to be able to keep the defense on their feet a little bit when he's out there, potentially. Now, going to have to see it out there in live reps, obviously, practice, fall camp, compared to a live SEC game, 2 completely different things. Michael Van Buren, this will be an interesting one. I don't think he's in a horrible situation. I don't think he's a horrible option. He showed some mobility today. This is my thing with him. It takes a while to decide. Now, he's learning a new scheme, and I'm going to keep giving him slack because it's not easy to transfer, especially in the SEC, at this position, move over, learn a new playbook, get used to all your teammates, and look like a well-oiled machine. There was times where he would have got sacked today with how long he was waiting. There was times where he threw an interception to Mansour Delane. There's a lot of decision-making issues from Michael Van Buren that you're going to have to watch him iron out. Great quarterback, great kid, going to be able to do great things. But if that's your guy, you're going to have to roll out there. If Nussmeier's hurt, you're going to want him to get a little more calibrated, a little more hemmed in, a little more decisive, if you will. Floby, what's good, man? Got you in the chat this weekend. Let's see. Oh, saying 100. All right, cool. This isn't the first time that Nuss got hurt against Oklahoma last year, came back, balled out the rest of the game. Yeah, no, you're right. See, like there's a lot of positives to be had here in this situation. However, the thing that I want to keep in mind the most, one, Nussmeier's a dog through and through, 100%. I know it. He's got the loyalty. He wants to live, eat, breathe LSU football. That's why he's here. That's why he waited his turn. And this year means the most to him. You just got to keep him healthy. The offensive line now has more pressure than ever, right? We were talking about offensive line's a big question mark. Clemson has TJ Parker and Peter Woods, and it's going to be a fantastic defensive line. Well, now that means a lot more because your quarterback's hurt, and you can't give up those errors. You can't give up those mistakes. You can't let him get hurt. You can't let him get knocked down. You can't make the situation worse. That's the worry that I got right here. Then the second worry, like I said a little bit earlier, the fact that it could flare up. Garrett Nussmeier could have everything go right. The Heisman campaign underway. LSU could go undefeated. And at some point, if this is chronic, as Brian Kelly said, it could flare up and revisit 13. That's what I'm worried about the most. Is the tendonitis coming back at one point where you really don't need it. I think LSU's in a good spot. It could be a lot worse. You have a lot of pieces. You just got to make sure Nussmeier is healthy. That's the biggest wrench in this entire bag. Let's move over to wide receivers. Aaron Anderson returned to practice today. Started slow. He just got his knee drained from the inflammation, as Brian Kelly was talking about. He's climbing back to that wide receiver one spot slowly. Now, this worries more fans because you got Nussmeier here with a potential injury. You got Aaron Anderson returning from what was a knee injury. You got a lot of options on your offense that are potentially banged up. And some people are holding their breath, and it makes sense. Aaron Anderson was off to the side at times with trainers. He had to add a compression leg to that sleeve from what we saw. The wide receivers were rotating with an interesting group for the ones. It was Chris Hilton, Kyle Parker, Zay Thomas. I will say once again on the show, Kyle Parker's role, I think, has grown tremendously in camp. A lot of people's expectations for him would be at the end of that second rotation. That's what a lot of people were probably thinking of Kyle Parker. I think he can get thrown into the mix in a variety of roles. Even heard Joe Sloan make a joke saying it's his favorite wideout right here. Destin Hill ran with the threes at times. He was paired with Jelani Watkins and Teron Francis. And shout out Manchild, Teron, the freshman, having a decent fall camp. He's getting thrown into the mix. He's having, he's getting opportunities. He's making the most of them. He's showing flashes. He's having a decent climb. I'll say Zay Thomas kind of reminds me, at least role-wise, he's very similar to Juwan Johnson. More the gadgety guy, going to be able to line him up in the backfield, do a variety of things with him as well. We saw him on the end around. We saw him break one open. He can be a good aspect in the special teams group as well. Now, in terms of who Nuss is developing the most chemistry with, he's got it with Chris Hilton, right? He's got it with Aaron Anderson. He's got it with Jadez Green. But who has he been clicking with that is new? New arrival, new piece, new face, new meat, if you will. Barry Brown, 13-6 has been a connection all camp, whether it be spring or fall, that I've paid attention to very closely. There was a dot, an absolute laser that Nussmeier threw on the sideline, right by P.J. Woodland, into Barry Brown's arms. Absolutely phenomenal. You heard him yelling, "Yeah, B, good shit, B." I mean, look, that I think is exactly what you need in terms of developing chemistry and getting a connection with a new wide receiver out of the transfer portal who wasn't in a huge role previously that now can answer the call, grow his role, and be one of your focal points for LSU. He's a speedy, vertical guy, probably could get mixed in some special teams roles as well. But I think he could have a big season. Nick Anderson. All right. I'm going to say this. Now, before I tell you this, don't worry. That's what I'm going to profess this with. Do not worry. Do not panic. Don't stress out because we just talked about Nussmeier being hurt. We just talked about Aaron Anderson being hurt, and I'm worried that somebody else could potentially be hurt. It's Nick Anderson. Now, nothing confirmed. This is just speculative, but with the way that he's walking in practice, he's limping. He's kind of moving around in an interesting way. He got hit today in the back, helmet right to the back, and then from then on, I kind of seemed like he was off. There was times where, he's jogging back to the line, and he just looks like he's moving funny on a certain side. And I know that Nick Anderson has injury histories, but I've liked what I've seen from him so far. And a lot of people are criticizing speed. A lot of people are criticizing all kind of things. He's a big frame guy. Like, I feel like once you put that into perspective, you can understand how he's a little slower. Like, you're 6'4", 200 plus pounds. He's throwing his body all around. He's looking good. I feel like in terms of his size, he can move around very, very well when you factor that in. I feel like he's not going to be speedy like a Chris Hilton or a Barry Brown. No. And you got those options, and you don't need him to be. He provides a completely different type of style in that room, and it was one that was lacking desperately because the next best height in terms of frame is Kylan Billiot, which is 6'4". And look, height isn't everything in the wide receiver room. But when you got a guy like Nick Anderson, you want him to be healthy in the mix. Those are three people that I'm watching and I'm worried about. Aaron, Nick, Garrett Nussmeier. But it's early. Still got a lot of things that you could see. Damon Wilson in the chat. How'd the tackles look? Sorry, just tuned in. Tackles at times, false starts were prevalent today. And the offensive line rotation, still the same group for the most part. The only people I'm seeing really swap in and out is at right guard. We saw Tyree Adams, DJ Chester, Braylon Moore, Josh Thompson, then Wesson Davis in that order. The guy who's coming in for Josh Thompson, for the most part, Cohen Eccles. And Cohen Eccles had his troubles today. He was cross-trained. He got in there at center. He had a bad snap. Brad Davis let him hear it. The O-line, though, You're going to really, especially talking about that tackle position, you're going to really miss Will Campbell and Emory Jones. And I'm not saying that because this offensive line's bad. I'm just saying that because you had generational talents for years. I would say 3 solid, great years of offensive line play here. And now you're in a little bit of a limbo period. You're in a little bit of a growing phase period where you got some figuring out to do. I ain't gonna lie. In that tackle, I think that could potentially be one of your thinking spots. I like Weston Davis. I think Weston Davis looks good. I think he has his moments. Yesterday, or excuse me, when were we back out there? I think it was Tuesday. Either way, earlier on in the week, I saw a play with him where he looked real aggravated that he let someone off his side and into the pocket. And that type of aggression, that type of physicality, that type of focus, that type of emotion, if you will, from a big trenchman, if you direction and channel it in the right way, I think he could be a great talent. Offensive line worries me, though, a little bit, only because it's not set in stone. Only because you don't know exactly who your guys are. Floby, why are you doing us to the injury demon? Why? All right, look, like I said, I'm professing this. I don't think Nick Anderson is extremely hurt where you're going to have to sit him down and put him on ice. But he was limping. That's fall camp, though. Floby, it happens, bro. Louisiana summer. It's hot. People banging up on each other. You're getting back active. You're getting back into the fold. Some knick-knack injuries are going to happen, especially at this point when you're a few weeks in. Let's talk about tight ends real quick. We were talking about offensive line. There's a group, there's a position that could help the offensive line in terms of pass protection, and it is the tight end group. Trudez Green had a decent day in the blocking side. I'm not going to lie. We normally talk about Trudez doing the receiving and all this stuff, and he did. He ran 2 plays in the end zone that are phenomenal, and I don't think anybody in the SEC, anybody in the country, could guard Trudez Green in the red zone, and I'll stand behind that. He had 2 plays that looked really good. Got a touchdown on one of them, but it's blocking. That was the main takeaway today. Trudez Green can block very well for somebody who's 6'7". Because lowest man wins. You got to get low. You got to get active. When you're that damn tall, it's hard to get down. It's hard to impose your will, if you will. But he had solid hits on Jack Pyburn, on Harold Perkins, and you need that right now. You need the tight end group to get nasty and help you chip off the edge and potentially slow that rush that's coming towards Garrett Nussmeier, because he's not going to be able to handle it like he once was. He's going to be a little slower. He's going to be a little less twitchy in the backfield, showing off that speed and them wheels everybody's been talking about. It'll be a slow grind. So that tight end room's going to have to show some muscle. Bar Sharp, he started to open practice. He was with the ones. Now, you're going to see a lot of double sets because you're going to see 14 and 10 out there with Bar Sharp and Trudez Green. But I will note that Bar Sharp is going to be your all-around guy, in my opinion. You're going to miss Will Campbell. You're going to miss Emory Jones. Yeah, sure. But you know who else you're going to miss? Mason Taylor. And I think Bar Sharp can come in and not exactly, fill that role. But he can do it enough, and he can do a variety of things enough. Pass block, help on the line, and receive, and be able to help in the run game, and just everything. Wear all kind of hats. Take one, throw one off to the side, put another one on. There's another one underneath it. Whatever the case may be, Bar Sharp can do everything. And I'm excited to see him get implemented into this. Let's talk defense. We talked about offense for a while. Let's talk defense. Let's give them some love. Let's show them a little bit of attention. Defensive back, Mansour Delane had a great day. 2 interceptions, great coverage, looks phenomenal. He was out there with Jakeem Jackson at times, and then Ashton Stamps in terms of the people that were at left corner the most. Safeties were A.J. Halsey and Tamarcus Cooley. Tamarcus played solid in the nickel corner role as well, though. So, wouldn't be surprised to see him slide around, go to that line of scrimmage. He stopped a run right there in that role. It's a good spot. I think PJ Woodland could potentially slide in there as well in terms of physicality and overall fit in the defense. Jakeem and Ashton, I think, are the people that are going to compete for that left corner spot, right? It's going to be locked down by Mansour Delane. He's always going to get your guy, the main guy, the wide receiver 1, if you will. Back to PJ Woodland, though. He had a pass breakup today on Phillip Wright, freshman wide receiver from Destrehan, number 15. Oh, my God. You had to hold your breath. PJ Woodland, he crashed on that pass. Phillip is like this. PJ's coming in. When Phillip turns around, boom. Car wreck. Sounds insane. Sounds a lot. Everybody on the sideline looking around like, damn. PJ Woodland is going to be one of them dogs. I'm sorry. I just got to say that. Is Mansour Delane great? Of course. AJ Halsey, My favorite transfer out of this entire portal class is 13, A.J. Halsey from Houston. However, please do not sleep on P.J. Woodland on this defense, because P.J. Woodland is going to be a dog. He's physical, he's aggressive, he's instinctive, he's all over the place in the right spots at the right time. He's fantastic. I give him credit. I had to give him some praise. Jakeem Johnson got a nice pick versus Nick Anderson in coverage. Now, I did kind of put an asterisk next to it just because. Now, look, Jakeem's interception was nice, and that's not to take anything away from him. However, I do wonder if Nick Anderson was healthy enough to be able to even run that route, or to be able to even compete a little bit in that regard. All right, I kind of was like, Nick Anderson did just get lined, and he's kind of been limping around. So maybe that's why. I don't know, but shout out to Jakeem for getting active. DJ Pickett had a good day in terms of being competitive, in terms of showing the older guys, like, I ain't afraid of you, dog. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to throw some pads around with you. He guarded Chris Hilton. He guarded Barry Brown. He got a PBU on Chris Hilton. I'm going to double down, though. The crown jewel on this defense, besides, the crown jewel on the defense is Harold Perkins, and then Whit Weeks. Top three, the crown jewel of the transfer portal, A.J. Halsey. He ain't letting nothing by him. Nothing by him. Open field tackling, run stop, great in coverage, preventing big plays. He's physical. He's breaking shit up all over the place. A.J. Halsey, keep doing what you're doing, bro, because you turning heads. I ain't gonna lie to you. D-line, Dominic McKinley today won a solid rep versus Cohen Eccles in a run stop period. And I wrote that down because Cohen Eccles is being considered as a potential right guard starter. So Dominic McKinley's going out there and showing some love. Who Dominic could potentially slide to second team D-line. That's how good everybody has been. Jacoby and Guillory, Ahmad Bro, Bernard Gooden, Dominic McKinley, Sadir Mitchell. You got so many people. Sean Washington. You got a lot of names, if you will, in them trenches that you can throw out there. But Dominic McKinley today looked like he was ready to fight, claw, scratch, do what he got to do to get into that first group. He was looking active. Ahmad Bro got physical, got chippy a little bit, but Ethan Callaway kind of had to get separated a little bit. You'll have to see it out there in fall camp. Hey, when it gets hot, when you get pissed off, when you get aggravated a little bit in that 100-degree sun, all that sweat coming down, you just lose sight of the focus sometimes. And I don't blame you. It happens. Jack Pyburn was wrecking shop today, got another sack. I'm going to say sack. He stopped. He pulled himself off. He said, no, I'm not touching Nuss today. But he could have if he wanted to. I had to write that one down. And then Patrick Payton got mixed in with the ones and got a PBU on Garrett Nussmeier. Move to the linebackers real quick. Witt looks good. Perkins looks good as well. Perkins looks great in this position. The star, great in pass coverage. He got on Trudez Greenwell. He got on Bar Sharp and got a PBU. Here's what I want to say about Whit Weeks real quick. I don't like that Nussmeier's at this point where you got to worry about him knee-wise, injury-wise. So you got to worry about his health. You got to worry about Aaron Anderson's health. Now I'm a little bit worried about Nick Anderson's health. Whit Weeks, we need him to be 100% because you can't have something on both sides of the ball. You can't have an injury, something that's dragging along this season in two of your most important positions, the quarterback and then the quarterback of the defense in Whit Weeks. He looks good so far. He's got that energy. He's all over the place, but I'm kind of thinking about that because you're at this point now on August 9th when you're 20 days away or 21 days away from your first game, one of your biggest games, if not the biggest game all season. The first one where you can nip all the doubters in the bud because everybody's thinking you can't get it done. You can't start undefeated. You can't do this. You can't do that. Week 1, LSU's cursed. You can really flip some shit. But now you got all these different worries. And Nussmeier's the biggest one. I would say offensive line is the second one. It'll be interesting to see how they fix it and alleviate it, though. Let's go look at our guy Floby real quick. Delane going to show out this year as well as Halsey and Cooley. Caden Durham going to roll all over Clemson because their run defense was horrible last year. Well, that was last year. Last year. They hired Penn State's defensive coordinator. TJ Parker and Peter Woods are there on that line, that trenches. A lot of people are doubting Clemson, and I'm about to end the show. I want to say this before I get out of here, though, because I really can't stop thinking about this. We're talking about Clemson, and everybody's coming for our heads. Oh, Clemson's 9-4. Clemson was 9-4. They're returning production from a 9-4 team. That's not a big deal. Guys, LSU was 9-4. What are we bagging on Clemson for being 9-4 for? For what? Why is that a big deal? They went to the playoffs. They won the ACC. Yeah, it's the ACC, and everybody already has the SEC bias. I get it. The SEC is the toughest conference to play football in. I'm not going to argue with you about it. I think that being 9-4 in the SEC is better than being 9-4 in the ACC. However, when we're talking about programs and at the different points that they are at in terms of their rebuild, if you will, Clemson's a little bit ahead of us. Won a conference championship. Got to the college football playoffs. The returning the production stat means that they have less question marks to answer in an offseason than LSU, hypothetically, at face value. Did LSU hit the portal and hit it hard and answered safety, answered DB, answered D-line, answered the wide receiver question marks? Yes, you did. You hit the portal, got the number one portal class, and that's phenomenal. But please, I want to tell you this. And like I said, this is one of my final times talking about this because I'm sure I'm going to see comments on this and I'm probably going to have to respond to them. However, with where you're at this point, with Clemson, with LSU, if Clemson beats LSU, let me rephrase it like this, because I don't even want to say if. Hypothetically speaking, if Clemson goes on a run, the first thing that everybody's going to say is, oh, well, at least LSU lost to a playoff caliber team. Oh, well, at least LSU is able to, steer the ship. I think that one of the biggest things people are not considering with Clemson is the NFL talent that they returned. People are all talking about, how LSU got this, how LSU got that. Kay Klubnik is probably going to be one of the best quarterbacks in college football. TJ Parker is going to be one of the best edges. Antonio Williams has a shot to be one of the best wide receivers. Peter Woods has a shot to be one of the best D linemen. They have a top cornerback. And we're talking about the nation and the country. We're not talking about the ACC. We're not talking about the SEC. We're talking about a comprehensive overview of this entire team and all of the NFL talent that they have ready. The return of production scares me because it's NFL-ready players. It's not because it's from Clemson. It's not because it's from a 9-4 team. It's because these guys could have got their name called and play on Sundays, but they're playing on Saturdays still, and they're playing for Clemson. And LSU is going to have to match up against them. LSU has players that they've pulled from other conferences. LSU has players that they've returned. LSU has players that they've recruited. However, none of that beats the experience of somebody that's been in a playoff, that's been on a conference championship winning teams. That if you go through and win the ACC again, 9-4, whatever you do it how you got to do it. You're going to get your name called for the 12-man playoff. I don't care what the record was. I don't care what the wins were. I don't care any of that. Clemson is a playoff caliber team, period. Clean cut, simple, however you want to say it. If you want to doubt them, doubt them. It's going to be a tough game. And I'm not saying LSU is going to lose. I'm just saying it's going to be tougher than a lot of people are considering because Clemson should be a national championship contender, not just because of Kay Klubnik, not just because of that D-line, not just because of that return of production, and not even just because of Dabo Swinney. There's a lot of different factors that I can give credit to for why Clemson's a little bit better than people are giving them credit. I think it'll be a tough test. I'm not going to lie. And I just had to advocate real quick for my opinion. Randy Jones, nephew Jake, the best insight in the fall camp I've heard. Keep killing the game, my boy. Appreciate you, Randy. Trying my best out here to give you the coverage instantly, right after. Didn't even change my clothes, man. I'm still sweating out here. Had like 2.5 pages of notes for y'all from fall camp. That's everything. That's about everything I got for y'all today. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Hit that thumbs up. We'll be live again Monday at 1 o'clock. We'll be back out there at practice. I'm excited. Hopefully we can get you some highlights. Hopefully they let the cameras in and I could take y'all behind the curtain, if you will. Floby, hoping Nuss will be 100% by week 1. I'm sure he will. And even if he's not 100%, he'll be good enough where I think you can have confidence. It's not, oh, woe is me, LSU's banged up, Garrett Nussmeier's hurt. No, once again, praise the Lord. Because he looks good enough to get rolled out there. Question's going to be, can the O-line keep him upright throughout that game to keep him at 100% Floby? That's going to be what I'm watching for. I'm your guy, Jacob Verdin. This has been the Verdin Verdict. I hope you'll have a great weekend. Special Saturday stream for you today. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it. Once again, hit that thumbs up on the way out. Please hit that subscribe button. And we'll be back Monday at 1 o'clock. This has been the Verdin Verdict. Sports Talk on the go. Y'all enjoy it.